and I love Molly Sleep.
I am the eyes and ears of this institution.
Mama don't like tattletales.
Who knows? In 1,000 years, even you may be worth something.
Little hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Room for one more penny.
Today we face the monsters that are at our door.
I think we live in overstimulated times.
It was a night just like tonight. Happy Friday the 13th, motherfuckers. I'm blind now. It's Friday, and yeah, I know I promised you a ghost girl, but I got flaked on again. What do you want? I do have a ghost update, though. We'll get to that. So hi, everybody. Hi, Rumble. The chat is going rockin'. Pammy holding it down on YouTube as always. Oh, Henry. Hi, friend. And we're on Pilled, so we'll see if we get some new friends to pop into Pilled. So yeah, we have no ghost girl, but we still have ghosts. And although I will say the wind out here is about 5 billion miles an hour right now, so it is entirely possible that this shit might go dark. So just saying. But I do have a contingency. It's called my 2016 Galaxy J7 Prime cell phone. So good luck with that. And yeah, I guess some housekeeping stuff. Okay. We're talking about Jinxed, and I don't they came up for multiple reasons. One, obviously Friday the 13th, and but also I have been a bit of an unlucky gal my whole life. And right after the show last week, I was just sitting here in my dining room because I am creating a studio. We'll get to that. And but it's not ready yet, along with basically the rest of my house. And I hear the softest little knock on my back door. Now, this house is like a 5-story split level. It's super old. A lot of things creak. Don't really believe in ghosts, but you guys all seem to be entertained by it. But this was a very purposeful knock, although it was very quiet, like they didn't want me to answer the door. And that was the more concerning part. Knock, knock, knock at 10:30 is oh, okay, well, it's probably one of the guys from the neighborhood, a neighbor, whatever. Because we've been having a lot of things go on. Somebody knocked somebody's mailbox down, and we've all been trying to fix it like good little ants. And so anyway, I just thought, okay, it's somebody, it's a neighbor. But it took me a while to get down there, and then there was nobody there, and the motion sensor stuff didn't go off. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So then I come back up here, and then there is a purposeful knock on the front door, and I answer the door, and it's some weirdo standing there. And the first thing that I notice is hands. I guess it's from being a cop for so many years. And then he's holding a cell phone kind of out to his side, and the light of the cell phone is on, like he's on a call. And he says to me, "Can you call someone for me? My car is stuck in your yard." He crashed his car in my yard. And so, but he's saying, "Can you call someone for me? But why can't you call someone? You're on your phone." And then he's trying to step into my house. And I was like, "Yep." Closes the door, and I scream to my fake husband, "Babe, call the tow truck." And so he goes back into his car. Now, it took the cops 20 minutes to get here, which is a good thing that I wasn't being stabbed, I guess. And they barely talked to him. they're like, oh yeah, just wait in your car for the, like, he's drunk. Like, you can't see him like stumbling around. You don't see his car like in my lawn, and that he tried to like get out by like digging, just like digging. So that's good. So then a tow truck comes. The tow truck is finally the first person to ask him if it's his car. It's not. Does he have insurance? He doesn't. How did it get there? Who knows? Nobody asked him. How did it get there? I have no idea. Like, streets are pretty predictable. They generally go straight, and mine does, but he didn't. And that's how the accident occurred, I guess. Anyway, the tow truck driver tells him, because his wheels were all fakakkied, and he's like, just make sure when I start pulling you to straighten those wheels out so that you can roll out of the yard instead of dragging the whole freaking yard with you. And he was too drunk to listen to that. So he dragged my whole yard with him. And I spent like half of Saturday trying to like move dirt and make a flat lawn again and grass seed and this and that. And it's, so stupid. And then little Paloma died. I didn't know how to like really buffer that for you, but my little bunny Paloma didn't make it. We went to urgent care, which is like 80 miles away. It was a whole thing. I made a stupid video crying like an asshole on the internet, trying to help other bunny people. And she didn't make it. So it's been so crazy since then because I have her sister still. And for a couple of days, like I'm still sleeping on the floor downstairs to like be with her because she's never been alone in her whole life, and that like kills me. But anyway, this isn't going to be the bunny show. We already did one of those. I'm not going to cry. But now she kept checking in with me. In fact, the other morning, it was like 4 a.m, and I'm laying like, she has a whole room. And I'm laying like next to her giant rug that she runs around on. And I just, I wake up at 4 a.m. to like her face, an inch from my face with like bell pepper breath, like at 4 a.m, like, may I help you? So she was very clingy for a few days, but today, I guess she decided that she hates me again. So all's kind of normal back over here, as normal as it gets. The other thing that happened Saturday, ghost update, is that I was outside with my shovel, like, doing all my stupid stuff. And this lady walks by with her dog. And she says, oh, we loved the old man that owned this house. And I'm like, I love the old man that sold me this house. Like, they were so great. I really would love to know more history on the house because it's haunted. And so she was telling me that I'm only the third owner in over 100 years. And I said, could you just like, wait a second? So I run inside and I get this picture that has been hanging. This is, wait, did that thing fall during the show or after the show last week? I don't remember. I think it was in the after chat. Ben, do you know if it fell? Ooh, I'm missing a lot of chats here. But anyway, something fell, and it was a light that was directly underneath this picture. And a lot of things have been falling in that stairwell for no reason. There's not like a big whoosh of air or anything. But this is one of the things that hangs in that stairwell. And I brought it out and I showed the lady that was with the dog, and she just gets this like teary smile on her face and she goes, that's Debbie. And I'm like, tell me more about Debbie. So Debbie used to live here in another lifetime. And I found this picture of this lady on the internet because it was connected to the house. And I was like, I don't know who she is, but she used to live here. So I put her on my wall because I collect a lot of dead shit. So I'm sure that Debbie is long gone because it's over 100 years ago. And then the vet that I hated sent me a card and I couldn't even open it yet. But they charged me for driving there so that my bunny could die the moment that we got there. So that was good. But they sent me a card. Like, could you just give me a $2 discount and like not send me a card? And then like everybody signed it to say, thank you for paying $200 for nothing. So that was good. All right. That's all the housekeeping stuff, I think. Okay, let's see. Hi, Rod. Red Bike, Circle of One. We've got bouncing boobs in the Rumble chat, as the prophecies have foretold. Wait, stop the show. Where's my Simon Pegg emote? Listen, I try to change it up every week. It's not healthy for you to rely on one emote, sir. You have to just branch out. Look at Henry using the GIF of Moldy Molly. We just saw the ghost girl, I think. If you have ghosts, you have everything. It's 90 degrees there. It snowed here today for no reason. It was like 60 2 days ago. It's going to be 60 on Sunday. So I'll mail you some snow and you can defrost it for me. What if the ghost caused the wreck to satiate the need for blood? Well, he wasn't bleeding, but he probably had a lot of alcohol in his breath. I think it was during. Okay, good. Did Debbie ever mention anything about unfinished business or blood rituals? Listen, I did ask, there's no Simon emote. Get over yourself. I did ask about the Masonic plaque in the yard because her husband started walking up the street and I've already met him. And she said, show him a picture. And he was like, oh, Debbie. And I said, well, what went on here? What's up with the red shag basement with the cuck bench? Like, were there swingers? Was there satanic rituals? And he was like, I think they were Masonic, but I don't know anything more than that. Like, he's lived here 40 years. Sure you don't. Sure you don't have your name like carved in the cement underneath that red shag. We'll get down to the bottom of it. We just need a ghost girl to show up. If anybody knows any ghost people that want to talk to me about my nonsense, I do have some evidence. So, lol at the cuck bench. Red bike. It's literally a red shag long bench that you would just sit while the action's happening in the conversation pit. I have no idea why you would put a red shag bench in a basement. And there's a dry bar. There's a whole thing. Actually, okay, if you guys want, I will give you a little sneak preview of the basement. Now, is it in my folder titled shit or my folder titled pics? Because I've been working very hard on this basement. And, all right, Grandma needs her glasses. So I'm doing a whole thing now. I peeled the last of the wallpaper this week, which was very exciting. Okay, so here's where the basement is at right now. It's kind of an odd picture. You probably can't tell what the hell is going on there, but it's walls and ceiling and a dry bar and a bunch of furniture and stuff, and it's really not put together very well. There's still a lot of painting to do, but then it got to be like negative 13 degrees and I didn't want to hang out in the basement anymore. And my bunny is stomping right now, so I don't know what that's about. The other night it was like 3 a.m. and she stomped, and usually you stomp to alert that there's like bad things around, and she's trying to save you and protect you, which is very sweet of her. And so she's stomping. It's like 3 a.m, 4 stomps. And she runs to the other side of the room and she's like cowering, like, oh my God, go get it. And so I'm like, okay, obviously there's something. I don't hear anybody walking by. There weren't any cars going by. Like, what is she upset about? So I turn the little flashlight on my phone. There's a freaking bug on the wall. She wants me to get it. So I'm like, oh. So I get up, get the bug, put it in a little tissue, and I take it to the bathroom for its watery grave. And I come back and she runs out like, thank you. It was just like, oh my God, a bug. That was the whole danger. Okay, so let's see here. Guys, the bench is like a baseball dugout. It was totally a cuck bench. I probably have pictures more than that, but I don't know if I have a picture of the cuck bench itself. I didn't realize it was going to be a feature. I have a picture of the cuck bench. Momentito. It definitely doesn't look like this now. So let me take this out and add this one. You guys and your cuck benches. All right, here is the cuck bench. It doesn't look like this anymore, but When I bought the place, it looked like this, although it had 27 years of old people shit because I bought the house with everything they own. And so, yeah, there's a cuck bench for you. It actually opens up. I keep my paint in there, but no doubt there were probably like sacrificial knives and skulls in there at some point. No doubt. So there is your cuck bench. Should we just do 2 hours on the cuck bench? Okay, let's see. Back in the 80s, there was a punk store near here called State of Confusion, and the sisters that owned it painted the walls in Dayglow paint. Dayglow paint is really tricky, Red Bike. It takes so many freaking layers, and not a fan. Don't know if I would do it again. Hi, Spider 5000. Yes, I bought a house, and I am quickly trying to depreciate the value as quickly as possible. Molly's going to be hosting raves in her basement when it's finished, so everyone stock up on your Molly. No, thank you. That will not be occurring. But yes. So last week I forgot to show you, there's this awesome Karen video. We did a whole Karen show. And there was a Karen explosion that just occurred like 20 minutes ago. And I'm not sure that I'm going to share it, but I did want to share the Karen video. Because it's funny as hell. And so let me get my Amish tech skills going. It will happen, don't worry. When punk was real, not Hot Topic or Blink. So, okay, let's see. I didn't even post it. I'm not going to post it because I don't want to blast the innocent. I talked to somebody I hadn't talked to for over 2 decades. And Molly's Funhouse, like Pee Wee Herman. It's, you know what, Pammy? It's a basement. Like nobody sees your basement except your real friends. And my real friends all know that I'm weird as fuck. And so you can all come and like see my plants and my beautiful things. And then then you get down to the inner sanctum where the Godzilla movies are playing and there's like all you can eat pizza. Like that's kind of like the idea of the house. It's like different ideas, different themes, and like different parts of my personality. It's not that I'm always Dayglow, but I'm not always in like seance mode, which is sort of this room. In fact, well, maybe I will show that. I think I don't know what I have in this computer because I really don't use it much. Oh, I have this picture. I've been adding a bunch of stuff to the walls. Let's see, what do we have here? So the big painting on top is actually, it opens and there's like a secret compartment in it. And I guess you would put periodicals of an adult nature inside the beautiful painting. And this lady had that painting forever. And I bought it from her from an antique thing. And I was really jazzed about it. Below that is a picture of an actual Victorian seance. And to the right of that other little tiny one that's like a house, that is the house that Rebecca Nurse lived in whatever, 1526, in Salem, Massachusetts. She was the oldest witch burned at the Salem witch trials, and my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandma. So, and then there's just some weird AI slop, because I'm loving some AI slop. I don't have a picture of me marrying Tom Cruise in this particular set. Oh, those black velvet posters. Yeah, I do like black velvet posters. They're good. I have one of a really beautiful dog. All right. Do we go to Karen culture or should we get on to the jinxing? Because there's some jinxing to talk about tonight. And some bad luck. Let's check the chat again. Yes. Okay. Oh, let me refresh that. Karen. You ladies. Okay. So I talked to somebody I haven't talked to for a long time today, and it was so cool because we just sort of like picked up, like, I don't know where he is, if he has 700 kids. Like, we didn't really get down to the meat and bones of it. I know you're saying that's crazy. Didn't you ask him who he voted for? Don't you need to know? We need to know. I didn't ask. It's not important to me. Like, we never talked about politics back when we were like old death rock pieces of shit. Like, it just wasn't that serious. And now there's like some people, I won't say it's a whole political party, but there is like some people that are just obsessed with if you are this or that. Like, is Blink 182 really punk? Do you like pineapple on your pizza? Do you have an innie or an outie in your underwear? Like, these are the things that people are caring about, and it's bullshit. It's tragic. It's trash. And so I'm sure he didn't think that it was going to trigger anyone, but some like Karen comes like in like a wrecking ball and decides that wasn't a comment on her weight, but it also might have been. And so she starts getting fucking crazy about. So he said, hey, you know, I saw Molly and like she's doing this podcast now. Who knew? Like, go see her. Grandma needs her glasses. Oh, there's lots of bouncing tits in the Rumble chat. Excellent. That is what they're there for. So this is just so funny because like especially being alternative, and like Rod and I talked about this several weeks ago, to be alternative and then demand that like anybody that isn't in lockstep with your every thought, that person's a fascist and not like the person who needs everybody to be the same. Like, it's just really weird, especially for the alternative culture where like we kind of never really cared. You want to dress like a boy? You want to dress like a girl? You want to rename yourself, you know, whatever, some like goth name? You want me to call you Azrael, the king of whatever? Like, none of us cared. Like, can I get a hit off your clove cigarette and gotta go? They're playing Skinny Puppy. Like, we just didn't give a shit. So it's so odd to me that these like tender children now are just caring about stuff that like doesn't matter. But anyway, so he posted a link to me, or he tagged me, or whatever the hell, however that works. And what if the Warrant girls were all named Karen, like Heather's, only hair metal? Have you seen, there's what is her name on YouTube? And she's been doing like the greatest AI music videos of TPUSA and Erica Kirk and like Sparkles, and just fucking, it's so rad. I can't think of her name right now. Let me look through it. Have you ever noticed the ones calling themselves anti-fascists use fascist tactics to attack others? Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. Is like, if you're going to be like screaming from the heavens about like me not meeting your expectations, and like you don't know me, like I'm glad I don't meet your expectations. Like, if you want to not like me, I can give you 20 reasons off the tip of my brain why you shouldn't like me. The first one that comes to mind is I am absolutely flagrantly ignoring my check engine light. You should not like me for that, because I could be putting people's lives in danger. I'm sure there will be more. We'll probably get to them tonight. So anyway, I mean, I know like some of you guys are alternative and some of you guys have absolutely no idea what these like band references are that I speak of sometimes. And like, I'll like break it down for you. But like, I'm not going to get into some argument over some like screeching Karen on social media. Like, it's just, I feel bad in a way, because like you have to take a stand so much. Like, you have pineapple on your pizza? Are you crazy? Like, it's pineapple. Like, I don't have to have pineapple all the time. I mean, sometimes I like pineapple, but sometimes I like mushrooms, but mushrooms do go well with pineapple. And black olives too. Like, and black olives? Do you know that you're eating stolen land? Like, I don't know if that's their tactic to get you to be manipulated into what they think. But I just see like Unhinged and like Friday the 13th, potentially a little bit unusually negative or superstitious, or just making wild ideas. I don't know that I want to be there. And like, I was a default Democrat, although I voted for Perot in '92, who was independent. I haven't slurped from the same fountain over and over again, I will never slurp from the same fountain over and over again. Like, nobody gets my unconditional worship. That's not how it works. But apparently that's like not good enough for strangers on the internet. And that's what's just like, it's so sad. But like, if you're going to lose your shit on that side of, like, I am on this side of the fence. Are you on this side of the fence? Like, if you're going to lose your shit, then like, I have no problem losing my shoe, hopping that fence like a pearlie with a pocket full of dope. So, okay, let me just read. Hold up. Black olives are Satan's grapes. I will have you know, Circle of One, I was very busy the other day. I tried to get a bunch of stuff done. And so I came home really quickly to feed the buns and do some stuff. And I didn't have time to even throw a frozen burrito in the microwave, which is like the staple of my people. It's my staple. And so I cracked a can of those beautiful Satan's grapes. And I went and I drained it because I'm not a savage. And I went to work and I was just eating black olives from the can, and my coworker lost her mind, and they're delicious, and I wasn't sharing. So you have that. Maybe you should picture every time you're watching my show that I have black olive breath, and maybe that will help you get through the trauma. We'll enjoy hell, I guess. Oh my gosh, Pammy, she says that my Karen impersonation made your dog bark. Well, there's that. Okay, so let's see if this chat. I'm not even going to read to you what the guy wrote back, but he was right. He was very measured. He was very fair. He was very cool. And he just gave this screeching harpy a platform to throw a public temper tantrum, which is just, I just want to show you pictures because, like, whatever you're picturing, that's exactly what it was. She has a MAGA podcast? Is my favorite goth band MAGA? And he says that he's not political, and he says they're very fucking cool. Okay, well, somebody else is also MAGA, and it took 2 seconds to see what Molly's podcast was about. And if you don't openly support any politician, why would you openly promote this? I loved you guys since I was 16, and you just broke my heart. I think you should probably get some water. Like I need to. Oh my God, Red Bike. You know, there can be no debating. With my hellbound trail, I was born with a tail. It's death by Karen, guys. So then he replies, he's totally measured. He's cool as a cucumber. Ain't no pissing him off. We literally haven't talked for 23 years. But my life's choices are now entirely his responsibility because he said I have a podcast for 4 people that watch me on Friday nights. So then she naturally has to come back. They always have to come back. They always have to come back. Because there's politics. And then there's a fascist regime that's actively trying to hurt, suppress, and murder people, including your own fans, and you're choosing to ignore it now when your band has long been dormant. Okay, so now she has to, like, cut him down because he's not, like, walking in lockstep with her, that now she has to say, like, your band doesn't do shit. It was just her favorite band. If you scroll up like a 1/4 of an inch. But now they're nobody. I'm not here to argue. You're not? Because, like, nobody brought this fight to you. Like, fucking get out of the goddamn comments then. I'm here to say you lost a long-time fan. Like, if you're gonna not be a fan of a band because of somebody that they were friends with 23 years ago. I don't know what to tell you except for good luck to you. And I think the thing, and I messaged him and I was like, wow, good luck with that. And he was like, what in the holy hell? I was like, print of retraction, I fucking dare you. No, I didn't tell him that. But it's like, do you do that when you go to like a cocktail party? You're not invited. You're just somebody's plus one. And you're like looking around down the tip of your nose and you see the cocktail weenies and you really want to take a toothpick to those cocktail weenies. But first of all, what bubble did you fill in the 2024 election? Like over 150 million people voted in that election. My bubble doesn't mean shit. You're going to lose your mind on the internet because of my bubble. And like, first of all, like it really is sweet that you think that the way the world works has to do with those little bubbles. Clearly, she hasn't woken up yet. She has a lot to learn about those little bubbles and about the bigger bubbles that are moving those little bubbles and about the wings of the bird and about certain redactions and certain people and places that we can't speak about, and to myopically wonder if I'm MAGA. Like one that's super interesting. I don't know where she lives. I didn't scroll enough to give a shit, but I assume America. And like on theory, like make America great. Like who doesn't want America to be great? Like I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but I'm not like, we need to make America fucking terrible. We want to make it so bad. Like is that where she's coming from? You want it great here? You want it great? You want it great? Like, it's just so weird. I feel bad. She has a long road to go before she asks questions that make anyone think that she knows what she's talking about. Is your friend MAGA is probably one of the lower levels of hell. She has a lot to attain before she reaches Nirvana. Was Nirvana a punk band? Maybe she could re over that too. I go to places I know I don't belong. I show up late, say something wrong, and then I'm gone. I hang out at the food. Actually, I have a stupid story. We were going to talk about Jinxes. Karen's be crazy. There are 10 viewers actually. Well, I do get a couple hundred like split up, but they're very split up and they're not always live. I just thought of this stupid story, but Red Bike, because you say that your decorum at soirees. This is clearly over 23 years ago because I was with this person that tagged me today. And we went to this party. It was like a death rock party. It was a birthday party for somebody. And there was a guy that was in the death rock scene that was also a baker. And he made the birthday cake. And I am a total fat kid when it comes to junk food. So was my guy friend. It's so weird to not like say his name. But so we were both in line with our paper plates, like, yes, please. Like first, like, oh, big one, give me that frosting. Yeah, let's do this. And so we go to sit down to like mac on our cake. And then we both look at each other like, oh no. This is terrible. Ew. It was German chocolate carrot cake. And I know you're thinking, but chocolate and carrots are the two great tastes that taste great together, aren't they? I am here to dispel that myth immediately. It was fucking rank. And now we are stuck with these plates with these giant ass pieces of cake. And the only fucking trash in this entire house is standing next to the cake and the baker who is cutting off more slices for other poor victims that are about to try it. We're like, what do we do? We can't eat this cake. It's really gross. And like, we eat nothing but trash and like, we cannot eat this cake. What should we do with it? So I'm like, I'm going to put it in the toilet. And so be my lookout. So I go into the bathroom and I scrape it into the toilet. And now German chocolate lumpy brown cake in the toilet looks like a masterpiece. And of course, I have like an inner 5-year-old boy that lives inside me. So I run out of the bathroom and I'm like, come in. You got to see what I left in the toilet. Come in, you have to look. And of course, he looks because that's how friends are. And so he's like, oh my God, just leave it. Just leave it. So we run out and we're sitting, like there was like a little like cuck bench outside the bathroom. And we're sitting on this like cuck bench waiting for people to go in the bathroom. And people are going in the bathroom and then coming out like, oh my God, like they don't want to say anything because they don't want anyone to think that it was them that made this like this masterpiece in the toilet. Finally, a few people come in and out until somebody goes like, what the fuck? Who did that? Who fucking did that? Oh no, a couple people flushed it. That's right. A couple people flushed it and then like went and did their business anyway. And then like came out of the bathroom and like didn't say anything. So then my friend and I kept going and getting more pieces of cake just to put in the toilet because nobody was eating it anyway. It was gross. So then we put more. And then people would flush it. So then we got more cake. And then this time I put some like frosting, like some chocolate frosting on the toilet seat because that's who I am as a human. And then the guy who owned the house, that's a whole story. We went on a really bad date once and then he told me it wasn't him. It was weird. But so he got so pissed off that he kicked his boot through the wall. And then this guy, Dave Grave, came over and he like kicked the chocolate frosting into the toilet. He's like, who cares, man? I got kids. And he just like kicks the like what he thought was shit into the toilet and flushes it. And like the party continues. And I was like, that was pretty hardcore, but it was just chocolate frosting. I was like, I don't give a shit. But this is the kind of person that is tagging me today, is somebody that I used to pretend that chocolate cake was diarrhea. But now it's all about MAGA. It's just so sad. What happened to good diarrhea jokes? Bring back potty humor and stop with this political nonsense. But also funny that it took 2 seconds to see that I was MAGA. And like, I've been alive 51 years and I don't think I'm MAGA. Like, what 2-second clip did you see that makes you think that? Show me on the doll where the orange man hurt you. Okay, so. Oh, we got another call. Yeah, I'm going to be getting a lot of calls that I'm ignoring. I should have put some pictures of that. I've been doing a lot of training for the firefighter certification in 3 months. I've got 3 months to get this additional level of assholery. And like, it's a young man sport. Last night we were setting up porta tanks and water witches and dragging this and that. And I'm tired. Very tired and sleeping on the wooden floor next to my bun. It's not how I pictured my month. Dempsey hit me with a perma-ban. I love black olives too. Oh, Red Bike, let's get a pizza. Can we split a pizza? I don't even know what state you're in, but they could do it. Chocolate and carrots. No, thank you. You should have been there. Rod, you would have kicked some frosting in the toilet. I know it. We'll all regroup on MySpace. Tom, on the other hand, is my friend to the bitter end. Hell yeah. I had a good time on MySpace. I thought that was fun. I liked Friendster. I liked AOL chats. I liked IRC chats. I had a CB radio because I'm fucking old. All right. Enough with Karens. Oh, wait, no. Let me show you this video. Okay, I told you that whole fucking nonsense because of this masterpiece video that missed the Karen show, and it's just beautiful.
City Town Square, hot from their ankles, and the net from point to chain. The net from point to chain. And the net from point to chain.
have some Karens tag me in some hardcore shit like that. It was so good. I want that as my ringtone. I need to buy the EP of that immediately. It's too freaking good. And that guy with the guitar, just chef's kiss. Chef's fucking kiss. I need a CB and 8-track in my Trans Am. Okay, with the Firebird on the hood, because I'm about to get really fucking jealous of you. I always wanted a Trans Am. I got a Chevy Nova, and then I learned Spanish, and Nova means it doesn't run. So there's that. Okay. Hi, I'm Molly Sleuth. Welcome to my show on being jinxed. Tonight we're going to talk about bad luck. Some people that have bad luck. We'll talk about my bad luck stories. That's probably going to go pretty quick. And no go. Yep. And then I want to talk about one of the most fascinating murder trials because it's of, I don't think you have to be a detective or a police officer to get really into the story. There's a lot of twists and turns and just, money and being able to get away with shit for so long, since 1982. It's a good freaking story. And also a story about, for me, like the interrogation part of it by a civilian and not trusting the cops. Like, that was a choice. And it had some consequences. So remember to click like or you will be jinxed. Thank you, Circle of One. I never usually ask anybody to do that because I figure you're all going to tell me I'm an asshole in the comments anyway. You should all tell me that I'm an asshole in the comments. I like it. It makes me happy. Well, we all kind of know what jinxed is. It's like when you have like unusually bad luck or like a long string of bad luck. And it's more of like a joke kind of thing and less like dark. But it really comes from like sort of a dark magic base of being cursed and having a long string of terrible things happen to you. And like, I do joke that I have been jinxed and that I am like kind of cursed. My life hasn't been so easy. And that was even before Karens existed. But, shit happens to everyone. I guess we all feel like there might be a black cloud following us when bad things happen to you. Certainly, like I've had a roller coaster the past like several years since leaving LAPD, and just like shit happens. You just pick yourself up and you go. But I do want to talk more about some people that had some pretty bad luck and like the overall theme that I got from it. But as far as like Friday the 13th goes, 13 has always been kind of an unstable number. And like it's a Karen number, the number 13, because you have 12 months and you have 12 zodiac signs and you had 12 apostles sitting with Jesus at the Last Supper. And then like supposedly the last apostle to sit down to make it 13 was Judas. And there's 12 Olympian gods. And anyway, 12 hours, and 12 has been sort of this like stable number for us. Even though we're on like the Deca system, but anyway, so 12. And that's interesting because there's a Japanese twist later that had to do with the number 12. But anyway, so 13 is sort of this, like, that's when it gets unbalanced. It's not an even number. It's sort of this like superstition that has continued on since Jesus. And like, who knows, like, was Jesus the last one to sit down? Listen, if you went to a party a couple thousand years ago, do you remember who the last person to sit down was? And like, that's almost kind of Karen like, oh, all this bad shit. Judas did, but it's because he sat down last. I know it. Judas sat down last, and that's why. So I don't know. I'm old, but I wasn't there. So who the hell knows? But so 13 has always been kind of with that. Now, Friday also has been sort of a unlucky day. A lot of sailors don't want to set out on a voyage on Fridays. To me, I just think of that 80s song that is Friday night, whatever, like just got paid Friday night. Remember that song? Like if I sang it in the key that it was meant to be, then you would know. But you're not going to know because I sang like Ethel Merman. 13 black olives, probably. I would take 13 black olives. I think they're tasty. She's an asshole in the comments, by the way. Yeah, just right. She's an asshole. Do your Amish friends have hex signs? I think that you think that I'm like invited in, and I'm not. So I get to go to their stores, and I get to hand them cash, and I get to take a bag of goods, and like they don't ever invite me to their sleepovers, so I don't have any like secret Amish insight at all, which makes me sad now that I think about it. Broken plow and burning wagon, 13 original colonies. A baker's dozen is actually 13 items, which is weird. Yeah, because, you know, when you like bake something, there's always like one weird one or the cookie that breaks. And so you want to make sure that you end up with 12. And plus, you got to pay the fat tax. So, like, I need to have one before I give them out. So, yeah. Do you know what... True Rod, do you know what? Sorry, grandma needs her glasses. Distal fink is. I don't know what distal fink is. Red Bike, tell us all. But so going back even further before Jesus, supposedly Eve gave Adam the apple on a Friday. I know what you're thinking. You didn't even know that they had a calendar up on the wall of their abode, but apparently it could potentially have been a Friday. So there's that. And it is so windy outside right now. Sorry, God. The crucifixion was allegedly on a Friday. I don't know. Again, I wasn't there. But so with Friday and the 13th, that's just like, I guess it's two great tastes that taste great together when it's not chocolate and carrots. But on Friday, October 13th in 1307, King Philip of France also ordered the arrest of his Knights of Templar. They got tortured, imprisoned, and executed. So there's even a phobia of Friday the 13th. It's called paraphobia. It's a long thing. You're never going to say that word ever again. So what does it matter if I pronounce it correctly? Get out of my fucking case, okay? But people are very superstitious. Bad luck charms. You'll see people get all freaked out over like hats on the bed. And I think where that one started is like you used to have doctors come to your house and treat you, and they'd put the hat on the bed. And so like the hat on the bed means that like somebody's sick or dying. Umbrellas indoors, although there was like some kind of theory that it was about the Egyptian god of the sun. But like I think it was because of the wiring in the house wasn't grounded. And so you had the metal spike of the umbrella and it could cause problems. I don't know why you would want to open an umbrella inside. You probably need a new roof. Broken mirrors. The Romans thought that that your soul was reflected in the glass. So I guess I could see why that would be problematic to have a broken mirror. Black cats. One I didn't ever know about was peacock feathers, that they're an evil eye. But I thought a lot of people wore evil eye as like a protective charm. So I don't know. But I just think that peacock feathers are pretty. And is that an Amish sex position? I don't even know what I said. Amish hex. One of those Harry Potter curses. What? How do I get to go back? Well, it should be. I remember that from Drugstore Cowboy, the hat on the bed. For some reason, that always stuck with me, and I never put a hat on the bed. Yeah, there's like putting shoes on a table, but like shoes walk through chocolate carrot cake. It's probably not good to put on the table where you like potentially eat. But superstitions, like I love superstitions. And I also think it's so fun, like people that are superstitious, because like, where does that come from? And like, why do you do that? But I think about like my own luck, because I am not lucky. In fact, I had a boyfriend 100,000 years ago that used to make me hide in the bathroom while he scratched his lottery tickets, because if I looked at them, they all lost. And he swears that before we had met, that he used to win the lottery. And then I would look at his tickets, and then all of a sudden they were all losers. Maybe. But I don't win anything. I just never win anything. But that's also, like, to me, that's a bonus, because that means that I'm not a gambler. Like, why am I going to put my quarter in this machine so that nothing comes out? I would rather take $1, light it on fire, take the ashes, and flush it down the toilet. At least then you don't have that fleeting hope that your dollar is going to turn into something more, which it invariably is not, because statistically the house always wins. So Vegas is one of these places that's really into superstitions, and not just the players. And the players can have a certain seat that they want to sit in, or like a certain feng shui. Some of these casinos set up feng shui rooms for players, and sometimes they'll allow you to do these stupid things, because ultimately Vegas knows that you are going to lose more money there in the long run than you win. So they'll let you put your little talisman up, and they'll let you do all your little things and blow on the dice and these things. But there are some bad luck things, like if a woman walks by the table, then supposedly it's bad luck. And they actually have a thing called a casino cooler. And I think there was a movie called The Cooler, and it's about me. It's about people that are like not lucky. And allegedly Vegas hires coolers to go and like cool off tables because the table is too hot, too many people are winning, and Vegas wants to make sure to like even the score out and get people to start like losing money. So they will send somebody unlucky to go like stand, play, walk by, and just disrupt the table. Now, even in gambling, which is just a funny thing because there's a lot of, chance involved, has rules and regulations of how they can steal your money from you legally. So they can't do anything that is going to affect the outcome, but they can. And so they'll do things, although it's not really a cooler, but they will do things like slowing the game down, trading out and putting a different dealer in, these counting all the cards, counting the chips. Now to like reset, and it will like fuck up the mojo of the table, and you'll get high rollers to like walk away from the table because they think that, they wear their lucky shirts and all this stuff. And you see it with sports too, but like, to me, it's so fascinating. Like sports actually might have some skill involved. Like you have to be able to get the little ball where it needs to go or whatnot. Whereas like playing cards or, pulling a handle on a machine, I don't know. It's more about like dumb luck, I guess. But what the fuck was that? Did you guys just hear two boom, boom? I don't know what it was, but yes, you did hear it. It sounded like it came from directly above me, and directly above me is this, it's the final bedroom. I just peeled all the wallpaper. In fact, I might have a picture of it. Let's see. Although I just want to play the Karen video for 2 hours nonstop. That's who I am as a person. Let us see. Okay, while I look for that, you can see where I buried little Paloma in my yard this week. She's very happy. She's in a beautiful little place. My tulips were growing already, and so I had to disrupt them to put her in. But then she got her, I don't have a very good picture of this room because it's not done yet, but I will. But I put the biggest tulip above her little face, and I got assorted colors. So I'm excited to see what color Paloma turns out to be. Your house just got teabagged by Godzilla. Thank you, Drum Zombie. This is the beautiful room. But now, okay, this room is going to be a werewolf room. I think I have, let's see if I can put that up. I don't know, I can't have too many pictures like on standby. But essentially, it's going to kind of be remove. It's going to kind of be, how come I can't find that now? There we go. It's going to kind of be like this-ish. I have a bearskin rug. You guys know that I collect some creepy stuff. And so I have a bearskin rug that's going to go on the wall, and like some werewolf stuff, and a cozy little fireplace, and a nice like shag rug, and some velvet curtains, and my grandpa's chair. And so that's basically what is going to go on above me. But right now, it looks like this. So that's good. Okay. Oh, let me get rid of the Karen video, even though I want to watch it 17 more fucking times. All right. But so is there anything to coolers? Like, Vegas is never going to admit if they hire coolers. That is for sure. Now, let me see. Let me make sure I got everything for the next story. I guess I can just go through these people. I pulled together some seriously freaking unlucky people. Put that there. Put that there. Werewolf. Werewolf points. Yes, I did not see The Nun. Was it teabagged by Godzilla? Because I'm afraid. Yeah, there's people who won't use the word like 7 at craps tables or something. I don't know. But it's all about like bad juju, and you're not supposed to count your money at the table. Like there's a whole thing to it. And I have had my friend Allie paid me $60 to go away from her. She was gambling in Vegas. We couldn't get her away from whatever table it was. I don't know. I don't gamble. But she wanted us to go away. And then she was going to meet us in the car. And we were waiting for like half an hour, and we go in, she has a fresh drink, and she's sitting down at another table. We're leaving. We're leaving Vegas. Anyway, she paid me $60 to go away, and I bought a snow globe. I don't know what else. Maybe I got a buffet. Anyway, I was the only person that left Las Vegas with money, and that's because people paid me to go away. Being a cooler is a thing. When I was working LAPD gangs, my sergeant, I will refrain from the commentary there, but he didn't believe me. So we started playing heads or tails, and he flipped it 17 times, and I was wrong 17 times in a row. I'm not a math person. I couldn't tell you what the statistics are on that. However, he did not roll it an 18th time, so I was only wrong 17 times. And he said, oh, well, then I'm just going to like bet that you're going to be wrong. Whatever you say, I'll say the other, and then I'll win. But that's not how my luck works. And I don't know how to explain bad luck to anybody who doesn't have it. But if I think it's going to be heads, then I pick tails so that I'm right, but my bad luck still transfers. So then I'm still wrong. And if I say it's going to be tails and you say Molly's going to be wrong, so I'll bet heads, you're going to be wrong because my bad luck transfers. Does that make sense? And it can be a myriad of things, but I kind of like having bad luck, as odd as that sounds, because I don't ever like gamble. I don't run in front of the bus. I don't do reckless things because I know that I'm not going to win. I wear my seatbelt. I pay my bills on time. Like, I know I'd be the only motherfucker to get caught for anything. So I just don't do any of it. And I think that works really well for me. So I would implore you to get some bad luck, because maybe you'll make better decisions in your life. But yes. Okay, let's catch up with the chat. Vegas, lost wages. Las Vegas equals lost wages. Yeah, not me. In The Nun, there was a room that was locked and people heard stuff moving. Interestingly enough, Red Bike, this room, it's a bedroom, I guess, but it has no door on it. So there's no lock on it. And it's directly above me, and that's where the boom boom just happened. So What happened? I don't know. But there's big trees, no doubt, mailboxes flying across the neighborhood, maybe a cow. It's really freaking windy out there. We've had a million radio calls already for various down wires and all this stuff. If I didn't have bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. Rod, born under a bad sign. I can't remember what your astrology sign is, Rod. Not that it matters, because astrology, yeah. There's only 12 kinds of people in this world. Did you know? But who did they vote for? That's all we need to know. Okay, I have some people that were very unlucky. You tell me if they were unlucky or not, because I don't know. Roy Sullivan was a Virginia park ranger, and he was born in 1912. And from 1942 to 1977, he was a park ranger, and he was struck 7 times by lightning. 7 times he was struck by lightning. It's like statistically impossible. He died at 71 in 1983, but he lost his toenails. And one time he was fishing and he got hit by lightning. One time he was driving in a car and he got hit by lightning and his hair caught on fire. But he got to live to be 71 years old. So kind of balances out. Now, Roy could have lived to 72, perhaps even further, but Roy sadly took the emergency exit with a firearm at 71 years old. So we'll never know how old he could have gotten. Maybe all that electricity in him could have gotten him like extra life. And then Gwyneth Paltrow couldn't stop rubbing the cream from infant parts on her face. But we'll never know. Born in 1912. I think, no, I'm going to hold it. Born in 1912 is unlucky. But 12 is supposed to be lucky. 13 is supposed to be bad. But numerically, I think if you're into numerology, is that a 4? 4 is the Chinese number of death, I think. Anne Hodges, born in 1923. She died in 72. She's the youngest of our unlucky ones. She only got to 49. But she is the only person in recorded history that was hit by a motherfucking meteor. And she was taking a nap. Like, that's just so stupid. You're laying down. And there's like a meteor comes like shooting through your house and hits you. Bro, that sucks. But not as bad as the landlady who was trying to sue her for possession of the meteor because the meteor ruined her house. So clearly she should be the one to get the meteor. And then this poor woman had to pay the landlord off $500. $500 is a lot of money back then. Because I think this happened in 62. No, sorry, it happened in 1954. $500 in 1954 is like buku bucks. And then ultimately she gave the landlady $500 to fuck off and tried to sell the meteor. Nobody wanted it. Oddly enough, you could totally sell that shit now. So she ended up giving it to the Natural History Museum for like nothing. And then she got a divorce and she like died of kidney failure. So that was sort of a roller coaster with only one part to it. But the only human to be hit by a meteor. Violet Jessup. She lived to be 83. I don't know that I'm going to say that these people are jinxed because they got to live longer than like most people do. She was born in 1887 and died in 71. She was born in Argentina. Now, she survived tuberculosis in her child. Both of her parents died. So she decides she's going to be a stewardess for the Royal Mail Line of cruise ships, essentially. And in 1911, she is sailing on the Olympic, and it collided with another ship. And that was that. She was part of a shipwreck. So then the next year was like, okay, well, I guess I got to get a job, and it's not the Olympic. I'm going to go get a job on this new ship over here called the Titanic. And the Titanic also found something to crash into. So, but they say that on the Titanic that she was just handed a baby, which she protected and like saved a bunch of other people on this Titanic. So then she takes like a little 4-year hiatus and is like, this sucks. But then she's like, well, this is what I know how to do. I'm a stewardess on these cruise ships. So I am going to yet again aboard a ship. And she gets on the Britannic that hit a German mine. And in that one, she fractured her skull. But she says that she touts her old age to faith and a fierce will to live. And I really liked that because it was like, yeah, she lived to be 83. A lot of these people lived like really long lives. How are we saying that they're jinxed or unlucky when like you're lucky to live that long? I mean, a lot of people don't make it that long. So then we have Tsutomu Yamaguchi, born in 1916 and died in just 2010. And in fact, on Monday, it'll be 100 years since he was born. So he died at 93 years old, but he was a Japanese marine engineer. I think he worked for Mitsubishi. And in 1945, August 6th, 1945, August 6th, that's my birthday. America dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. I wasn't born in 1945, though, so don't blame it on me, okay? But he was in Hiroshima, and as the bomb dropped, and he had some training, he got to cover, he was still badly burned, very injured, and so he's like, shit, well, that sucked. I got to go home to Nagasaki. So he goes home to Nagasaki, takes him a couple days to heal and all this shit. And 3 days later, America bombs Nagasaki. So although Japan says that there's probably like 165 people that were actually at both bombings, they are touting him with being the only one to survive both bombings. And they call it Niju Hibakusha. Duolingo, I better get a point for that. Double atomic bomb survivor is what it means. And he spent the rest of his life doing poetry and being a speaker for peace. And so I don't know. I don't know if he was jinxed or not. And then the last one, no, this guy might be jinxed. This just might be jinxed. His name was Frane Selak. He was a Croatian music teacher. And he was born in 1929 and died in 2016. No, that can't be. Yeah, 87 years old, if you're doing the math at home. 1962, he was in a train derailment, and he had a broken arm, and a lot of people died, but he only had a broken arm. The next year, 1963, he was sucked out of a plane when the doors accidentally opened, and he landed on a bale of hay that saved his life, but a lot of other people died. It's very weird. 1966, bus crash into a river, and he survived that one. 1970, he survived a car fire. 1970, he survived a second car fire the same year. Did he maybe think not to like do any kind of transportation? Did you ever just think of walking, Frane? Just get there when you get there. But then in 1995, he was in another bus crash. And in 1996, a car flew off the side of a mountain and he held onto a tree branch and survived again for the 900th time. So I would think that maybe he would qualify for being the most jinxed of all of them, because that's a real pattern. But in 2002, he won the Croatian lottery, the equivalent of like $7 million. And he bought a couple things with it. And then he was like, I don't really need all of this. So he gave it to friends and family. So that sucks that you weren't friends with him back then. And then he put up like a sanctuary of the Virgin Mary, and he just lived a very modest life. And he was like, yeah, I'm done. Dang dude survived Final Destination. Final Destination 1, 2, and 13. So, yeah. Are people jinxed? I don't know. I don't know. But I wanted to talk to you about somebody who was alleged to have been jinxed. So I want to get into this Robert Durst murder. And I can't believe I spent over an hour on Karens and garbage. But here we go. I'm going to blow through it. You guys are going to learn about Robert Durst. It's a really fascinating murder case. Okay. I see that. Born on a bad sign, 1912. Maybe the jinx to live that long with a curse. Yeah. Oh, is that what you're saying? Because one of my favorite episodes of The Twilight Zone is with Burgess Meredith, and he goes, time enough at last. And he's sitting in front, the bomb goes off, and he's sitting in front of the library, and he's got books, and he's going to read all these books. And he sits down just to take a little break, and his glasses fall down to the next step and break. It's heartbreaking. I just noticed your earrings. Those are rad. Oh, I got them at a thrift store. So I probably have the Black Plague now. Classic Twilight Zone, yes. Okay, let's go back, but not all the way back to those people. We're only going back to 1982. And I guess we'll start with Kathy Durst. Well, she wasn't Durst at the time. But there is this tycoon, Robert Durst. Let's start. Okay, Robert Durst's dad is basically like a Trump of Manhattan. He's got all this property, and his heirs are his son, Robert Durst, who's a little bit of an odd duck, and Robert Durst's little brother. I can't even remember his name. That's how much he shows up in the world. He's always in the shadow of his bigger brother. Bigger brother doesn't want shit to do with the enterprise. He has an office, but he doesn't really go to work. And he's just the heir of all this money and all this property. And he decides, like, I'm just going to get married. And I think they moved to like Vermont and opened up like a health food store with him and his wife, Kathy Durst. So this was reopened many years later, but let's see. I think we start with Kathy Durst. That makes the most sense. So Kathy is going to med school. She wants to make something of herself. She's not a gold digger. They have a lot of money, but they don't act like it. And so she's going to medical school. And she's got good, solid friends and goes to parties. And Robert Durst is a little bit of an odd duck. He's not very social. He doesn't like to go to the parties. He doesn't like sitting on the cuck bench. He is just sort of wants to control her. They don't have the greatest relationship. Her friends know there's a lot of domestic abuse. She talks to her friends a lot about like if there's a safe place to stay, to get away from him. And she does tell one of her friends, Darlene, that she wants to get a divorce from Robert Durst. And so Darlene ends up being such a great figure in this because she is like the best friend who's like the honey badger, the one who's just going to keep digging, like Candace Owens is for Charlie Kirk. Just to her own detriment, I will dig, I will help you. So a lot of this story has to do with sloppy police work, which really kills me. I grew up, I was a punk rock piece of shit, and then I became a cop for over a decade for a major city, and then I did it for a little podunk city, and I can tell you that they're not all the same. And it was only through that process that I really understood why some people can fear and distrust the police, because they don't all come to the job with the same heart. But in this case, you're going to see a lot of failures of the police and a couple of shining stars that came and tried to unfuck this investigation and all these murders together. Was Robert Durst in that band Limp Bizkit? We'll come and get you. So there's a party. Robert Durst demands that she comes home. And some of these details, I mean, it's been a long time since I've read the book by Janine Pirro. We'll get to that. But let me show you Robert Durst. So Robert Durst is in the center there. He's wearing the three-piece suit with his hands folded in front of him. And then Kathy Durst is going to be in that black low-cut top on the bottom right. Just a very plain, pretty woman. And that's her family. He's not really a fan of going to the family picnics. And so you can see how awkward he is there. Now, here's Kathy again. So medical school, just trying to do her shit. But now she does tell her best friend, Darlene Altman, if something happens to me, it was Bob, meaning her husband, Robert Durst. And so Kathy Durst goes missing. And there's a lot of moving pieces to this. Because originally, so they had a home in like the rural part of New York. And then they had a apartment in a high rise with a doorman. Robert Durst has a lot of money. That doorman wants to keep him happy. Even though Robert Durst doesn't seem like the kind of guy who tips, you definitely don't want to piss off your boss where this guy is renting. So originally, Kathy Durst goes missing, and I want to say it's like 2 days before Christmas in 1982. And originally the doorman said, I think I saw her come in. And then all of a sudden, like, okay, well, don't look at Robert Durst because she came home. Something must have happened in Manhattan and not in the suburbs. But then as they pressed him, he was like, oh, I don't really know, actually. So that would have been good to say you didn't know when we were asking you, and it was kind of important at the beginning because we kind of let him go. They let the evidence go. They didn't check the house. Now, Darlene, pissed off, she goes through his trash, which is legal. If I put my trash at the curb, then it is considered legal for anybody to go through it that decides that they want my soda cans. I don't recycle, sue me. Or whatever else I have going on in my trash. Private investigators use it all the time. Now, if that trash is like up on my property, now you're going to have a problem. But she waited for him to put the trash out. She goes through it and she finds a note that said like, shovel, rope, anchor, boat thing, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh my God, that's where she is. And the cops are like, that means nothing. It's just a shopping list. He likes to go fishing. And they're like, he's not a fisherman. So that lead gets ignored by the police in New York. And he is never, he's never looked at again for many, many years for the disappearance of his wife. Now, there was some thought that he had potentially killed their dog, but he was never formally accused of that. But there was talk that he also, prior to that, as a control mechanism to control his wife, Kathy, that he ended the life of their dog to further keep control over her and terror and all of this stuff. Now, what was also found was a practice note. And I say practice note because a note very similar to this was found later that was actually deployed. But this practice note in block letters saying, hi, it's me, Kathy Durst. I can't come to medical school today. Please excuse my absence. Which is weird because if you're in medical school, like that's like big boy time and you don't need to get a note from like your mommy or write one yourself. You just don't show up. It's called adulting. And in fact, the day after Kathy Durst went missing, there was a call that came in to her, one of her professors that said, hi, this is Kathy Durst, and I won't be coming into class. And the professor ended up hanging up the phone going like, okay, like you didn't need to call me. Like nobody calls me to tell me that they're not coming to class. That seemed very weird. Well, not weird if you're trying to use it as an alibi that Kathy Durst was really alive when maybe she wasn't. So then you have to think, well, what did the voice sound like? I don't know. I think it was a woman. I don't know. Obviously, he talked to her on the phone. There wasn't a recording of it. It was many years before they were like, oh, wait, you got an alibi for Kathy Durst? Well, I don't know. I got a call, but I thought it was weird at the time. And so let's talk a little bit more about that alibi and women, because these themes, kind of like a Seinfeld episode, all kind of circle back on each other. She was going to Albert Einstein Medical School. And okay, so with the women in Durst's life, he had Kathy Durst, his wife, but he also had a dear friend of his named Susan Berman that went to college with him. I do have a picture of Susan Berman. We don't need to look at me. Here is Robert Durst with Susan Berman. Now, Susan Berman was about the opposite of Kathy Durst. She was kind of like brash. She was a loudmouth. She was very gossipy. She just had this big life. Her dad was in the mob. And so she kind of was like a kind of a star fucker who like wanted to be around like all the right people and do all the right things. And so she was friends with him, but he kind of just sort of tolerated her. And let's see. Oh, what's going on Pilled? Hold on. Wait a minute. Something ain't right. Okay, I think I fixed it. So that's Susan Berman. Susan Berman, allegedly, they only had a platonic relationship. But what I will say is that because she was such a dingleberry to Robert Durst, he did like cut her some money here and there. Here, have a check. Here's another check. Here, write a book. I'll fund this. I'll help you out. And so he did his very best to try to make a silk purse out of that sow's ear. And he would cut her money. And I think it was really just because for however weird he was, she really liked him. And he really liked to be liked. Now, here is the reward poster. And I thought, even for 1982, this guy's a millionaire. A millionaire. And your wife is missing. And he's only offering $100,000? Like, even in today's economy, that Savannah Guthrie offered more for her mom, who's 83 and probably has 4 minutes to live if they find her alive. And but only $100,000 for a guy who has like more money than God. And but that was it. That was her missing ad. So who knows? So okay, allegedly, Durst said, well, he said a few things. And so I taught interview and interrogation, lie detection, and body language for Los Angeles Police Department. I'm always very interested when people give multiple conflicting statements about where they were or what they were doing. And this one seems pretty cut and dry. But even though clearly through all these alibis, we know that only one of them could be true, you don't really know why people are lying. Like maybe you're lying to me about the stolen car because you know who stole it, or maybe you stole a different car, but not this one. So the lie doesn't really get us to court. So Robert Durst first says that they got in an argument and that he dropped her off at the train station. And she had early classes the next morning, and she had hospital rotations because she was like well into this process of medical school. So even though she had school and she had a bunch of shit to do, he said, I dropped her off at the train station and she didn't bring her purse. She didn't bring her ID. She didn't bring her credit cards, and nobody's ever seen or heard from her since. But trust me, it was totally normal. She just got out without any of that stuff and to go live her life, supposedly. But he also said that he went to a bar and that Kathy called him from the house, like called over to the bar. That seems like, I mean, I guess maybe in 1982, like paging Dr. whatever, like maybe that's possible. Seems a little bit implausible, but then again, he's trying to like get that alibi of like, yeah, I was around a bunch of people, and of course nobody's gonna remember I was there. Everybody was drunk. I bought drinks for everyone. I was a hero. I have all these friends, and like then they're not gonna remember me. We were all trashed. I was trashed. I don't even know how I got home. I don't know what time I left. So a bar is a real convenient alibi, especially like prior to so many security cameras. So when she allegedly called over to the bar, she told him, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. And so then he gets home and like, would you know it? She left her purse and everything. I don't know why. So that was another one of his tales. But then he also said that he went to the neighbors for a drink. And this was years before this alibi was checked out again. And that neighbor went, what? Fuck that guy. That guy's crazy. I did not invite him over. I did not ask him for a drink. He's never been in my house. I've never been in his house. I don't want anything to do with that guy, but for sure I know, like I was not in my house having a drink. It hasn't happened. And so, okay, so you're catching him in another lie, but it's still not enough to take this murder to trial. First of all, you don't know if she's dead because you don't have the body. Now, there is enough evidence that you can have that will eventually get to the point where you're like, okay, well, we've got to declare her dead, but you don't have a method. And although you could say this long history of domestic violence would be his reasoning, when I used to file cases at the Los Angeles prosecutor's office, they would just shake their head and go, I mean, if I can't see 12 jurors with tears in their eyes, I'm not filing it. And then they would fill out a reject sheet and I would go with my dick in my hand and that would be that. And there's nothing you can do about it. If you can't get a prosecution, it still closes the case. So my boss still is like, good job. You get a credit for a closed case, but it's closed that the victim or that it's a DA reject. So then also, so this woman that calls for the medical school, and we didn't know who that woman is. Now I want to give two options, but we pretty much think it's not going to be Kathy Durst at this point. There's no reason to believe that she was alive past him picking her up at that party when she told her friend, if something happens to me, look at Bob. So let's bring Susan Berman back into the picture. And this is the bestie, this girl. Now, she totally could have called the medical school to buy time, to establish that alibi. There really wasn't anything that she wouldn't have done for Robert Durst because, I mean, she was such a cuck for him forever that it's totally possible that she was in on this. And I'm going to say later in the story, that makes a little bit more sense, that he had her make a simple phone call that could have bit him in the ass later. Because although it does have an alibi and buy time before they're even like looking for her, it has the potential for being blackmail, and he liked to kill people that inconvenienced him. As we will later learn, it wasn't just Kathy Durst. So Susan Berman was so in this investigation when Kathy disappeared. She became his like media spokesperson. And like, she's nobody. Like, she's not, I mean, she says that she's an author because like Robert Durst cut her a check to write a book, but like, she's not a media personality that should be out in the front of this. And she really was this like kind of brash woman that maybe didn't have the finesse that you need when your wife goes missing and you want everyone to think that you're innocent, because it really is weird that like your girlfriend from college is here to say that you're innocent. So she knew everything about him because she was the one that was going to the media and answering all these questions. And also she was getting checks at that time. He's still cutting her money. Now, in 2000, the case was being reopened. And a lot of this push had to do with Janine Pirro, who is such a hero in this. And she got a lot of flack because as he's going through the case, he's saying that Janine Pirro is like manipulating the case and manipulating this prosecution, that he totally didn't do it, but because people are so dazzled by Janine Pirro that they're just going to side with Janine Pirro, and that witnesses are going to come out of the woodwork and go, I saw him do this. And actually, because they just want to be like in with Janine Pirro. I mean, that's true. There's a lot of celebrity chasers. Who the hell knows? But Janine Pirro runs a factual case, and she actually wrote a book. Let's throw it on the screen. Called He Killed Them All. And it's good. It goes through a lot of the evidence, and it's a good read, and she is such a honey badger. I just love her personality. So that's a tasty one. But I'll also show you a little DVD documentary that goes a little bit further into some of the oddities, and that one's a good one too, if you guys just want that. Okay, let me take some of this shit off the stage. Get out of there. Get out of there. Okay, so they are reopening this investigation, and Susan Berman tells Robert Durst, the detectives are coming to talk to me Monday. I don't know what I'm going to say yet, and it's possible that she could have asked for some money again because she was pretty broke. So did she ask for money? We don't know. But what we do know is that Robert Durst got on a private plane and flew to Northern California. Now, Susan Berman lived in Beverly Glen, in Beverly Hills, although it is the city of Los Angeles, West LA Division. That's where I worked for the majority of my career as a police officer. I'm very familiar with Beverly Glen. And it's always funny when somebody has to call the police and you show up and they're like, why isn't Beverly Hills police here? Like, sorry, you live in Los Angeles. Like, my zip code is 90310 or whatever, 90210. It's like, well, sorry, you're the city of Los Angeles. So what can I do for you? But anyway, so that was the case with Susan Berman, that although the vanity name Beverly Hills was her address, that she really was the city of Los Angeles. And that comes to play because the Saturday before she was allegedly going to meet with detectives that wanted to hear what she knew about Robert Durst, that Saturday before, she done got herself killed. Somebody went into her house and shot her in the back of the head, execution style, like the mob. Now, she was the daughter of a mobster, and she tried to write a book about like, oh, like me, you know, growing up in the mob, and sometimes I would be around when the guys were laughing, like as if she had anything to do with it. And she's always been this sort of like auxiliary dingleberry for whatever scene that she's in. And so the book didn't really go anywhere. And so, but she got herself killed. Now, police probably think, oh shit, you know, mob daughter, this looks like a mob hit. So they probably had a lot more leads than the average chick that could potentially get shot in the back of the head. She was found, I believe, by the neighbor because her dog was running around. And the dog was usually inside or outside, but outside with her. And the back door was open. They went in, and they were the ones who found her. The neighbors did. So that was the Saturday. Now, when the detectives finally started taking this shit seriously, they actually drove it from where Bob Durst took the private plane down to Beverly Hills and back up to Northern California to meet the plane. And you could just do it. It's possible, even with LA traffic. The timeline was possible that he took that plane because he didn't really have a good idea of like, he wasn't really telling them why he was in Northern California that day. He just decided to get on a plane and like go look at some sea lions and then go back to New York. Okay. And they were trying to find, did he rent a car, whatever, but it is possible. And with his amount of money, life's a lot more possible than it is for you and I. So take that to your little, because if you want to get away with murder, you don't have enough money for it. Sorry, you're just going to have to not murder. But he can, because he has money. So when they find her, it kind of opens everything up. They want to talk to him, whatever. Now, Beverly Hills Police, as I said, is not in charge of this investigation. It didn't happen within their jurisdiction. But they get a letter, and it is addressed to Beverly, L-E-Y, Hills Police Department in Beverly, L-E-Y, in Beverly Hills. Misspelled. Beverly doesn't have the E at the end. So this misspelling, this Beverly Hills, L-E-Y, to Beverly Hills Police Department, and it just has her address on Beverly Glen, and it just says the word cadaver. Now, cadaver, maybe as like a goth girl, maybe I've used the word cadaver lately. Probably not, though. Most of us don't. But the people who usually use this cadaver word are like people in medical school, because Kathy Durst used to talk about her cadaver all the time. She's in medical school, and today our cadaver did this, and today we did this with the cadaver, and she's talking at the dinner table about the cadaver, and cadaver is kind of like regular vernacular for this family because she's going through medical school. So cadaver. So cadaver, Beverly Hills. And this was really the only lead that they had. Now, really looking at it with Robert Durst as a potential suspect, why would a suspect send a note to go find the dead body on Beverly Glen? Because he actually did care about her. As much as he is a narcissistic, totally selfish piece of shit that'll murder you if it inconveniences him to let you live, I think he really did care for Susan Berman because she was such a loyal little like simp for him for so many years. So to send the cadaver letter is just like, can you just go find her? I had to do it, but I mean, she doesn't have to lay there forever, you know? So that's what my impression is of why the cadaver letter exists. But it shows caring for her. So who knows? Okay, we're going to get back to the letter, but I want to take a side quest now, because now they want to talk to him about Susan Berman, because now here's the second woman in Robert Durst's life that done be gone. And Robert Durst is nowhere to be found because Robert Durst is living in Galveston, Texas. He is paying cash for a shitty little apartment there in Galveston. And his lease is under the name Dorothy Signer. He is living in drag as a fuck ugly woman in a wig. And he says that he's deaf mute so that nobody talks to him. That doesn't seem unhinged. So Dorothy Signer has all these bills that come and go and the lease and everything. And one of the things that investigators saw was that the handwriting is like always very, very different, that he doesn't have a handwriting style. And like I could tell my dad's handwriting from like a block away. My dad's handwriting is like so consistent. But Robert Durst's handwriting is all over the place because he's pulling all kinds of like scams. He's living as Dorothy Signer, or is he Robert Durst? Like, so those all came into play because of the cadaver letter, because the cadaver letter wasn't written in any known handwriting for Robert Durst yet. So Robert Durst, Dorothy Signer, is living across the hallway from this guy, Morris Black, old man. And these two old men kind of become friends with each other, even though Dorothy is deaf mute. And who knows at what point, but at some point, Morris Black learns that Robert Durst really is kind of hiding out in Galveston, Texas, and like faking that he's a deaf mute woman. And they go and they do a lot of things together, and they go and eat, and they go and shoot guns and all this stuff. So at some point, obviously Morris Black knows. Now, they become such friends, because really Robert Durst had fucking nobody, that Robert Durst gave Morris Black the key to his apartment. And one could say, like, wow, they really were friends. Robert Durst really wanted to be friends with Morris Black. But would you know? Suddenly, there's a police officer standing at Galveston Bay looking out over the dark water, and he sees a couple of black trash bags floating in the water. And I don't know why, but he decides to pull them to shore and pop those babies open, and he finds arms, legs, and a torso, but he doesn't find a head. Also in the bags is Dorothy Siner's junk mail. So they go to talk to Dorothy Siner. And wouldn't you know, it's fucking Robert Durst. So Robert Durst takes off. He ends up getting arrested in Pennsylvania. They do a warrant for his arrest. He gets arrested in Pennsylvania for stealing a chicken sandwich and a Band-Aid. And he had $500 cash in his pocket. Now, did he not want the credit cards to like show his location? I don't know. But he had $500 cash in his pocket and he's stealing a Band-Aid and a chicken sandwich. I feel like you could have made some better choices with your life. So at any rate, Robert Durst gets taken into custody and he goes through trial. He gets extradited back to Texas. And a lot of this is just like from my memory of reading this book so many years ago and going to the trial and sitting there in this room with Robert Durst. So I hope the sandwich had bacon on it for that risk. Yeah, but was that damn good chicken sandwich? I mean, no, guys. Now, when they caught him with the sandwich, he had some old beat up piece of shit car. And the old beat up piece of shit car had like a bone saw and some trash bags and some other shit like in the back of it. So it wasn't hard for them to put this case together that he had killed Morris Black. So they go. Now, the Texas court case was fascinating because he got this big guy that was his attorney. And he was very good at manipulating the jury. And they just basically said that, you know, it was totally self-defense. I came home and Morris Black, I had given him my key and he just jumped me and the fight was on and Morris Black was a very good shot and he had a gun and I took it away from him and we were wrestling and then I shot him. And I don't know how it went off and I don't know how the whole fight went. And then I just freaked out. So you do what you always do. Instead of calling 911, you cut him up because you're a deaf mute woman living as Dorothy Siner, and you put him in plastic trash bags and you dump his remains into Galveston Bay. What happened to his head? His head was never found. And a lot of the case really hinged on the fact that they didn't have evidence that he was murdered. Because with trajectory of a bullet, you can tell, for instance, the way that the TV faced and the way that the couch faced, because Morris Black didn't have a TV. And what Robert Durst is saying is that he was such a nice guy to Morris Black that he gave him the key so he could watch TV at my house. So when you walk in the door and Morris Black is watching TV, the back of his head would be to the door. And it'd be very easy to walk up behind him and shoot him in the back of the head, like Susan Berman. And if you never find that head, then you could say that it was self-defense and that you had to shoot him in the face, in the ear, wherever. We don't know. And Robert Durst says, you can't prove where I shot him. And we were in a fight and I don't really know where I shot him. That could make sense if it was dark and you shot him and you ran and you never saw the body again. But you spent days cutting his limbs off, touching the body, putting it in bags and taking it someplace and assuming the head wasn't in his apartment. So he had to have seen the head. At some point, you know where that wound was because you processed his body. But Texas is a different place. And Texas says, well, if it's self-defense, then that's that. And so they acquit him, and he doesn't have to do any time for the Morris Black killing. Now, it just seems kind of crazy that yet another person potentially was trying to ask him for money. Oh, hey, why do we live like shit and you're millionaires and you're my neighbor across the hallway? Like, why don't you break me off some of that? Since, I mean, I know that you're not Dorothy Signer and that you're not deaf mute and like people are looking for you. Seem like you should probably pay me some money. And then all of a sudden, like, he just goes dead. So anyway, he is totally acquitted from that. Now, that was 2001. A long time passes. Nothing happens. LAPD fucked off that case with Susan Berman. New York fucked off the case with Kathy Durst being missing. But in 2015, a relatively small documentary filmmaker named Robert Jarecki says, I want to tell the story of Robert Durst. It's fascinating. He's a millionaire. He stole Band-Aid. Let's go talk to him. So Robert Jarecki reaches out to Bob Durst. And this is where it gets so fascinating for me, because when you talk about interrogation and really building that rapport, it's pretty hard when you have a uniform and a badge and a gun to be like, oh, we're just bros here, so tell me. But as a documentary filmmaker, you probably have a little bit of an easier time, I would think. But he builds rapport. And this is where the jinx comes in again, because he basically tells Robert Durst, in building this rapport, in kind of getting into his head and his space and building that bond, you were kind of jinxed, huh? You've been through so much. And like, people think you're this bad guy, but God, what would anybody do if they had your life? I want to tell your story. I want to talk about the real Robert Durst, who you are, not who people think you are. I know you're a good guy. And I want to tell your story. And what does a narcissist do when they are confronted with somebody who wants to tell their story? Well, in third grade, they want to tell them everything. And so Robert Jarecki and Robert Durst become very close. And he goes through his entire life. Now, Robert Durst's life wasn't totally charmed. Allegedly, his mom had thrown herself out a window to her death when he was a little kid. And he wasn't diagnosed with any thing, but he wasn't right. In fact, his brother had a restraining order against him for an incident involving a gun. And his brother was terrified of Robert Durst. His brother was the one going to work every day for the dad and doing all of this only to live in the shadow of Robert Durst, who's living as a deaf mute woman in Galveston, Texas, as you do. So Robert Jarecki and him are really getting all the bits and pieces of his life. Now, also, Robert Jarecki is meeting with other people that knew of Susan Berman, that were and Kathy's friends, and some of Kathy's friends make this great. And I don't know if it was that initial woman, the initial best friend. I have to think about that because I don't remember it being Darlene. But there was this woman that was like, we all wish we could have a friend like that if the shit hit the fan. And she was so emphatic that he really did this, and he was responsible for Kathy Durst's disappearance. And he goes and he talks to Susan Berman, had a boyfriend for however long. And she basically almost kind of raised his son. She was never married to the guy, but he always kind of considered her mom. And he grew up, and now he's like this young adult. And he really loved Susan Berman. They were very close. And so Robert Jarecki says, I want to talk to you about Susan Berman. I want to tell this story. I want people to know who she was. And do you have any mementos or letters or anything that you might have? And this young adult is going through these papers and he finds it. The one piece of evidence that can blow this entire thing fucking wide open. It was an envelope to Susan Berman in Beverly Hills, L-E-Y. All block letters, same handwriting according to experts as the cadaver letter. So this envelope with L-E-Y on it is like, that's it. We fucking have it. And for Robert Jarecki, who has been working tirelessly to try to tell this story, he knows about the failures of LA and New York. And like, what do I do with this envelope? Like, this is the information that could potentially prove that he's a murderer. Do I just fork it over to the same police agency that fucked up like all those years ago? 2001, I think, was when Susan Berman was killed. Or do I confront him with it? And I respect him so much because you can see that. So there's let me show you here. So this is Robert Jarecki's film called The Jinxed. And basically he gets Robert Durst to talk to him because he says, you're jinxed. And based off of that premise, Robert Durst wants to tell him his life story. And that's how this entire documentary ends up revealing that he truly is the murderer. So Robert Jarecki says, I can't give this to the police. It means too much. I've got a pretty good rapport with him. I'm going to do it. I'm going to confront Bob Durst with this envelope. If he admits that he wrote this envelope that says Beverly Hills, L-E-Y, all block letters, just like the cadaver letter, we might have something. And if I can get that confession, then maybe the police can take it from there. But all I know is I'm not just going to like hand this envelope over to these fucktards that didn't do it right. So he sits down with them, and here's from that interview where they're sitting down together, Bob Durst on the left, Robert Jarecki on the right. And Robert Jarecki is so good. This really was the greatest, because it's an interrogation, but it's not. He's confronting him with this evidence, and he's saying all the things that Robert Durst wants to hear. Hey, so, yeah, you sent a lot of money to Susan Berman. You're a really good friend to her. I mean, she was so lucky to have you. And I mean, where were you at? Like, so you were always sending her money? Like, okay, so here's an envelope. I think that a check came in this, and he shows him the envelope, not the cadaver envelope, the envelope, Susan Berman, blah, blah, blah. The return address there, he ignores the L-E-Y, ignores it. I think he put his hand over it, in fact. And he says, so this address here was when you were still on Broadway or whatever street in New York. It's stamped, 19, whatever. Is that, so you were still in that office at that time? So you guys remained friends like all that time, huh? Wow, she was really lucky and he admits that the envelope was his. And he admits that he was the one that wrote it. So like, you sent her money, or like, did you have people that sent her money, or did you like actually have that like personal touch and like send her this? Wow. And he admits to it. He admits that it's his. Then Robert Jarecki slides over the cadaver envelope. Now, these aren't the originals. He's showing him copies because, of course, I guess maybe I could have done this a little bit better and shown you times in which people have literally eaten evidence in the interrogation room. So you never want to have the originals, but or at least have copies of whatever that you have. And abracadabra. Yes, Rod. So he shows him the cadaver envelope. Now, this is really interesting body language wise, because when we are going through anxiety, and basically lie detection is just anxiety detection. If you want, I can do some more videos talking about specific things in the news and body language and what you're seeing, like with Bill and Hillary testifying last week. That was fascinating. But essentially, all lie detection really is anxiety detection. And you just see Bob Durst break down. He starts getting like this bubble gut and just the burping, and the blinking. Like you've never seen anybody blink as much as Robert Durst. Just blinking and burping, shutting down. He says, I think I need to take a bathroom break. I'm going to go to the bathroom. Because Robert Jarecki says, hey, you know what? This envelope, it kind of looks like the cadaver one. I mean, yeah, look at that letter. And L-E-Y, same misspelling. It's weird, right? Do you think it's weird? Like, but you didn't send the cadaver letter though, did you? And he is just bubbling and dying in front of your face. And so then the papers kind of get switched up. And then he asked Bob Durst, wait, which envelope did you write? And not even Bob Durst can tell you which envelope Bob Durst wrote and which one Bob Durst didn't write. So now he goes to the bathroom. He needs this bathroom break. This comes into play because it is not a single stall, one room for yourself, close the door and lock it. It has multiple stalls. And this comes into play with the legality of it. He was still mic'd for recording the show. And there are many times in this documentary where they take a little break and Robert Jarecki leaves the stage or living room or wherever they're recording, and Bob Durst starts running his mouth. Well, they really should have asked me. And then Bob Durst's attorney comes flying in and goes, Bob, stop it. Do not talk about that. Remember, we weren't going to talk about that. Well, I just think they should probably know. Listen, you are still mic'd. They can still hear you. You cannot talk about that. Even though you guys aren't filming right now, you guys have cut, you're taking a break, you're still mic'd, and they can still hear you. Shut the fuck up. And this had happened enough times that this comes into play when it goes to court. Because what Bob Durst is saying when he goes in the bathroom is that he should have had a reasonable expectation of privacy to have whatever he says in that bathroom be off the record. But just like I could hear you confess to a murder if we're one stall away from each other, and I have a legal right to be where I'm at, and I'm hearing what you're saying, then I would be able to say, yeah, I was in the stall and I heard somebody say this, and then we both came out at the same time, wash our hands, and I saw that it was Robert Durst. It's the same legality as him knowingly recording himself, talking to himself in the bathroom. Now, what he says, and I can just like picture him staring into the mirror at himself while he's splashing a little bit of water. He says, there it is. You're caught. What the hell did I do? Killed them all, of course. Now, during trial, Robert Durst is saying that, strike it from the record. We are not allowed to talk about that because you didn't Mirandize me. Well, I'll give you a 30-second clip on Miranda. You don't have to Mirandize people all the time. Even the police don't have to Mirandize. There are 3 prongs to Miranda. And I see this all the time in cop movies, and it drives me crazy. Like, oh, you didn't read my rights. Like, oh, I'm not really under arrest because you didn't read my rights. Like, don't you have to read my rights? Like, no, you don't. There are 3 prongs to Miranda when you have to give Miranda. 1, you have to be in custody, not free to leave. So if we're just walking past each other on the sidewalk and you're like, I killed them all, like that does not have to be Mirandized. The moment that I take you into custody, and that could mean a lot of things. It could be a forward-facing red light, or I'm holding your ID. You don't feel free to leave. Certainly if I'm doing a traffic stop, even like I would have people come in on my cases all the time, and I would want to interview them. They were the suspect, but I made it very clear to them through something called a Behealer warning that they are free to leave. And at any time you don't want to answer what I have to say, like you can just take off, but you want to do certain things as a detective. I don't want to sit between you and the door because you're going to have juries that go, you told him you could leave, but you were also kind of blocking the door and he was scared to leave. Like, oh, well, you could have pushed past me. That's not going to fly. And like your case is too important to let tiny ticky-tacky things like that ruin everything. So You have to be in custody. And he wasn't. He was just doing a documentary in a bathroom. 2, that custody has to be the police. So if you go to Target and they have arrested you for shoplifting your chicken sandwich and your Band-Aid, that is not custody for Miranda. It has to be the police. So they could talk to you all day. You can tell them whatever. Now they're going to tell the police, yeah, he told me he did it, or he told me whatever. But you don't have to be Mirandized. So don't talk to them. Well, maybe don't steal chicken sandwiches. That's also an option. Now, the third is that you have to be asked accusatory questions, but even that's a little bit nebulous because, okay, if I say to you, where were you on Thursday night? And you were off killing Jessica, then that would obviously be prompting you to confess some kind of guilt or to make some kind of statement that could be against your best interest. And so obviously that would have to be under Miranda. You would have to give that Miranda warning before you ask something that's going to elicit that kind of response. But it can be also more nuanced than that. I had a case involving a stalker. This guy was stalking his ex-girlfriend by pretending to be somebody else and his whole convoluted thing. But part of what I needed to determine for court was that he knew they were broken up, that this was unwanted contact for him to send these like fucked up, stupid emails to this girl. And so even me asking him, what's your address, is part of the crime. Hey, what's your name? What's your date of birth? What's your address? That should be under Miranda. I should Mirandize him before I'm asking him that kind of stuff, because part of it was they weren't living together anymore, and now he admitted it. So he is making a statement, and I should Mirandize him before that. Truthfully, honestly, I believe all police officers should carry their little field officer notebook and read it verbatim. If you start making shit up, it's not going to count. The court system is so particular when it comes to that stuff. You have the right to remain silent. Do you understand? You have the right to the presence of an attorney before or during any questioning if you want. Do you understand? You have the right to an attorney if like you don't have enough money, like we'll get you one. Is that cool? Like you can't go off a trail. Just say it. And there's ways to do it. Like I just sort of throw it out and make it not like a big thing, not like you have the right to remain silent and not talk to me. Do you understand? Like, just read it. And then you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. And then if they make some kind of statement, it's all admissible. But so he wasn't in custody, he wasn't with the police, and he wasn't being asked accusatory questions by the police. He was talking to himself in a shitter. And he said, I killed them all. So he had enough money to like fight this for years. And I went to LAX courthouse, Superior Court, and I sat in that trial. And he turned and he looked at me. He looked through me. He looked soulless. I have a picture of him from court from one of those days. And this is the look that he gave me. And it's so haunting because there's just no human behind those eyes. It's so creepy. Terrible. But anyway, there it is. You're caught. What the hell did I do? Killed them all, of course. So he had enough money to just stall this case forever. And it was really interesting. The day that I went was a therapist, psychologist, I think she was. And she was quite a bit older. But I think she was a friend of them and not necessarily strictly their doctor. And she was giving testimony. And his side defense was saying, nope, we don't want her on the record at all whatsoever. We're not ready to present our questions. And this kind of kept going back and forth. And ultimately the judge decided, listen, you're stalling this for eons because you're not ready with your questions. But like the prosecutor's ready with their questions. And these people are getting old and these people are dying. So we're going to get these people on the fucking record. And if you want to ask them questions now, now and later, or just wait till later if they're still alive, then you can do that. But we're going to get these people's statements on the record because we're here for the truth and not this circus. But he did have a shit ton of money. Now, in September of 21, he was convicted and sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, but he was also 78 years old. This is no spring chicken. So life without the possibility of parole, you're lucky to make it to your next chicken sandwich. So that's September of 21. Now, the next month, he was charged with Kathy Durst's murder disappearance, which is like her family having decades of torture, knowing he knows and he just won't say it. Now, they never did get to find out where Kathy was. Her remains still have never been found. But that was October of 21. And in December of 22, he was dead in prison. And that's the end of the Robert Durst Jinxed saga. It really is a good book. Again, I'll show you Janine Pirro's book. He killed them all. And look at those eyes. Terrible. Terrifying. And the documentary was called The Jinx. I think it's like a few DVDs that you can get on eBay if you're like a total Amish tech like me. You guys have probably like streamed it on 8x speed and you probably know more than I do now. But I just think it's a really fascinating case. And it really all just stemmed from him, Robert Jarecki, taking his side and being like, I think you're jinxed. And I think we should just talk about it. People want to know your story because you're jinxed. And he just bought it, hook, line, and sinker. And then he admitted to multiple murders. That motherfucker. But rest in peace to all the people that ever got in his way. He was soulless, and now he is where he belongs. So if you guys like me breaking down some cases, I know I do come from more of like a detective cop background, but I'm always glad to break stuff down, break down body language, or if you just want to tell me I'm an asshole, that's what the comment section's for. Comments, people. Molly, you're an asshole. I will suck that up. Or you just email me, mollysooth@gmail.com. And I don't know, next week, are we going to have this ghost gal on? I don't know. I'm not sure. I might just take you through the house as it is right now. It's looking pretty good. It's not done yet. It's not done at all. But I'm not sure what I will have, but I will be back next Friday at 8 o'clock. So if you guys can like, subscribe, and all that nonsense. I feel stupid saying it, even though I've got like 4 rad people here in the chat. But like big people that have millions also say it. So I guess I'll feel less like an asshole. So then you can also comment, Molly, you're not as much of an asshole as other assholes. And then I'll know that you have a crush on me. All right, guys, I will see you next Friday, and love you. Be safe. Don't let any assholes crash in your car. Okay.